Hello everybody and welcome to Minion's workshop. Today we're going to do the Rubik's Cube. This is for my niece Grace, who needs to do it for a school project. So we're going to break it down. We're going to show you what the Rubik's Cube does and how it works, what goes on inside it and the stages to solve it, and then we're going to go through the algorithms to solve it. So how does a cube work? How does it let you do these moves? What are the internal components? We're going to pull this apart and have a look. So anybody that's pulled apart a Rubik's Cube before knows that you sort of have to turn it 45 degrees at the top so that you can get access to these two corner bits, or these four corner bits, and then you need to grab yourself a hammer and pull apart your Rubik's Cube. Now, it's only the core that we really care about. The side pieces and the corner pieces just hang off the core, but it's the core that helps us understand how a Rubik's Cube works. And the first thing you'll notice when playing with one is that these bits don't move in relationship to each other. All they do is spin around. And these are the central faces of each face. So, white will always have the same relationship to where yellow is, to where blue is. It might spin like this, spinny, 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 but it's not going to change its relationship. It's always going to be 90 degrees or 180 degrees to another one. So, white on this cube is always going to be opposite to blue. On this cube, white is going to be opposite to yellow. It's never going to change. So, if you get your head around that, you can start to understand how I can move things on the cube and always come back to the spot where I want to, because the centers do not change. All they do is spin. And so, when I'm figuring out how to solve a cube, I can just sort of visualize it and say, okay, so it's only the bits around the centerpieces that are actually moving. Nothing else is moving. The centerpieces are all staying in the same relationship to each other. Get your head around that and you're halfway there. Next, we're going to talk about the stages we go through to solve the Rubik's Cube. Now, you've probably heard people talk about the cross and the layers, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to solve the cross, the first layer, the second layer, the last cross, and then the third layer. It's important to remember, when doing all this, how the core works. Because if I solve this cross, this brown cross, but I don't think about its relationship to the other sides around it, I've only solved one face and not part of the first layer. So when you get your head around the fact that everything's related, and this is why I pulled apart this to show you the core, it'll make so much sense when you're solving it. The cross is actually more than the cross that you see here. It's actually part of the other faces. But anyway, let's bring the camera down and show you the stages we're going to go through to solve the Rubik's Cube, and then we'll get into actually solving it. This is the white cross, and as you can see, it's solved also in relationship to the next layer up. If the green one and the orange one were swapped, it would not be solved, even though there would still be a white cross here. So it's important to remember that all the centers have a relationship to each other when you're solving things. So, now that we've done that, the next step is to solve and finish the white layer. Okay, so the first layer is solved, the corner pieces are in, and they're correct for the next layer up. So, the next one's pretty obvious. We're going to solve layer number 2. Okay, so our next layer is solved, and we've got our 4 next pieces solved. So, the next thing to do is to solve the last cross. And it looks a little bit like this. Okay, so our final cross is done. The next step, and the second last step, is to get the corner pieces in the right position, but not necessarily the right orientation. So I want this corner piece to come in and be yellow, blue and orange, but it doesn't have to be pointing the right direction. Same with this one, green, orange, yellow, red, green, yellow, red, blue, yellow. So I just want to get all the pieces in the right spots, but I don't care about the orientation. Okay, so now we have our corner pieces in, and they're all the right colours. So we've got yellow, orange and blue, so it's in the right position. Just needs to be turned once that way. Then we have, same thing here, needs to be turned once that way. This one needs to be turned once this way, and then this one needs to be turned once this way. So, the last stage is pretty obvious. We're just going to turn these pieces to the right direction. So they are the steps that we're going to go through to solve the Rubik's Cube each time. Doesn't matter how messed up it is, you go through those stages and you'll be able to solve it. Okay, so let's start with this green cross here. We could start with the red here. You see it's already almost finished, and it's now pretty much finished. But we're not going to do that because I think it's important when you do this, get used to each step. So solve it, mix it up, solve it, mix it up, solve it and mix it up. Don't move all the way through solving the Rubik's Cube in one go. It's too much information to take on. You'll have to pause the video, just solve that cross, then just solve that face, and move through it slowly. Once you get good and you feel like you don't even need to have any rules in your head or sequences in your head for the first cross, it'll make it much easier for you to then concentrate on the first layer. So just solve the first cross, muck it up, solve the first cross again. Do it 10 times, do it 100 times, do it until you're pretty confident with it. This whole process will take you quite a long time to learn. Don't expect to be done in a day. I think I started learning how to do the Rubik's Cube and then got it all solved and was pretty sure that I could complete it every time in I don't know, probably 2 weeks of solid work or 2 weeks of work on it. It does take a while. It does take a while to get these things in your head. They are abstract, like moving the side this way and moving the side back and moving the side this way and then the top this way and then moving it back or whatever. It's an abstract thought process and you need to just get used to that and get used to the idea that this is a bit weird. What I'm going to be asking you to do is you're learning a completely new thing and it doesn't really connect with anything that you already know in the real world. So get used to the fact that this is going to be tough. It is going to be really hard to solve this thing and it is going to tax your memory, but you're going to get a lot out of the end of it. And I'll explain at the end of the video when we're all done why I think that this is very much worth doing and why I think that this is a really good thing to do for a school project. But anyway, let's look at this first cross and what are we going to do to solve it. The first one is really easy, and most of the time when you're solving it you'll see that yeah, you can probably pick one of these and not have to worry about the first move. But in this case we've got to worry about the first move because we've got to get one of these first 4 pieces into place. But normally you'll find one that you can just move and then you go, okay, well that's done. And the reason why that's done is because I can just move it to the spot, in this case here, and then it will be completed. No matter what piece I moved, I would always be able to move this top face so that if it was red it would be there, if it was yellow it would be there. And we've solved the first of the 4. Okay, so we've done our first move and everything gets trickier from here, but we can see we find our next green piece. There's one here as well, but that's a bit trickier, so we'll get to that next. This one is the one we're going to move into position, and we could just do this and it gets our piece up onto the right face, but you will notice that it's yellow, orange, which is wrong. White here, yellow side is here, so this piece actually needs to be up here. This is quite easy to solve. Instead of moving it there, we just need to move this face away before we do the move. And the reason why we can tell that this will work is because always opposite to white is yellow. So here's the white center, opposite is the yellow center. And that means that if I move this to anywhere and turn this into the green white one, I'll be able to move it back. Okay? So I move it away because I know that this is the move that I'm going to do. I move it up, and so we've got our yellow, our white, we move it back, spin the top back around, and we've got white here, green across the top, and yellow. Okay, so we've done half of our cross. Now we look for another piece. We've got this one here, and where's our last one? Right here. Okay, so let's try and solve this one here. Let's spin it around so that it's at least close to where we want to be. So we know all we have to do is move this up to here. And this move, if I can show you, this move will actually move it into right position. It's actually going to move both into the right position because this one is right as well. So we can actually do that by just only moving the center piece, getting our cross out of the way, and then moving our cross back. So we're going to move our cross out of the way by moving it down to here. Then we've got to move our two pieces to where we want them. And then we're going to move our cross back. And now we've got our cross at the top. We've got yellow to red. Sorry, white to red to yellow to orange. And we know it's right because if we flick it back so that the center's all lined up, we have our top cross. Now that was a bit of a weird example because they both happen to line up, but we're going to mess it up and we're going to do it again. So let's maybe grab a different, let's just throw it on the ground. Which one are we going to do? We're going to do orange. Okay, so we know we've got our first one, so we can just spin orange around so that the yellow lines up. We've now got our first one. Next we've got an orange and a green one here, and we know that this move is the one that's going to make it into position, into the right position. So it has to be here for us to do the move, and then when we move it back, now we've got our green and yellow. What is our next one? Oh, here we go. This one is going to move straight into position, so this is the move that is going to make it work, as you can see, and it also happens to be lined up with our center here, and so we're sorted. Where's our next one? Oh, it is also perfect, so we're just going to move it up, and we have done our cross. Alright, so here is the hardest possible situation that you could be in to solve this first cross. Each of these pieces are in the right place but the wrong orientation. So it's still reasonably easy to solve because all you need to do is just pick one, it doesn't matter which one, for the first one, move it out of the way, and then move it on the opposite side so that the orange lines up. And that way, when we move it into its position, it is correct. So all we did is flip that piece, and we didn't care about what happened with the other ones. We don't care what happens with them because we're just going to now move back to solving things normally. Okay, so the next tricky situation you might get yourself into is that you've got this solved, or you've got your cross, so you've solved your cross, you've got this one correct, this one not correct, this one correct, and this one not correct. So basically these two pieces have to be swapped. If we move this out of the way once and we move these around, we've actually affected this one piece. So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to move it all the way to the bottom to somewhere where it's completely not going to be affected. So we're moving the center all the way to the bottom, which is here. So we've got our center all the way at the bottom. And now we can move this face freely and it will not affect this bottom face. So we can spin it all the way around. That's 180 degrees. You can see that it's now lining up. And then we spin our middle face up to meet it. And we've got blue, yellow, green, and white. And that is our first cross done. Alright, so here we are. And we've solved our first cross, and now we need to move on to our first layer. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Now on this, we happen to have actually gotten this piece here anyway, but I'm going to get rid of that. So what we've got is this piece, needs to move up to yellow, green, orange, which is this corner. Yellow, green, orange. So we can move it into position. We can look at it and we can go, okay, well, orange is not on this bottom face, which means that it can be solved with one turn up, which is this one. That's the turn that's going to solve it. So this gets it into the right position, and then the only thing we need to do is move this piece, and possibly this piece if we'd already solved it, out of the way so that we can do that. Which means moving them out of the way, doing our solve, and moving them back. And there we have that one in the right place. So let's look for our next one. We're looking for orange, green, and white. Where are you? Oh, here you are at the bottom. Orange, green, and white. This is the same situation. And the orange is not at the bottom, which means it's a move like this or a move like this that's going to solve it. In this case, it's this move that's going to get, oh, look, that's correct. So we need to do it without affecting these pieces. So we move them away, we solve, and then we move our pieces back. Okay, so now we've got these two pieces done, we'll move on to the next one. Now, in this particular scenario, because this piece, which is our orange, blue, yellow, which needs to be in this corner, we could pull it out and put it over here, but simplest thing to do is to find the other corner, the blue, white, orange corner, put it in here, which will move it out. So let's look for, oh, here it is. Okay, so same scenario, orange is not the orange face that we're solving. Orange is not at the bottom, so we know that it's either this move, which it isn't, or this move, which is going to solve it, which it is. So, same situation. This is the move we're going to do to solve it. So we need to get rid of these two pieces, or in this case only this one. So we move them away to a place where they won't be affected. We do our solve, and then we move them back. There we go. And now we've moved our piece out of position. If this piece was here but in the wrong orientation, so let's say like this, we would have to move it out. That's done by just moving it out and then moving a bottom piece away. But you can actually sort of cut a few corners here, because there's two ways to move it out. We can either move it out this way, or we can move it out this way. So let's think about cutting a few corners here. If I was to move it out this way, I would actually end up putting the orange layer on the bottom, which means it's tricky. So I'm going to do it this way, so that my orange is not on the bottom, which means it's going to be an easier solution. So I move it out, I twist away in any way. Doesn't matter. If I went to there, it wouldn't matter. If I went to here, it wouldn't matter. But I just move it away from this position, so that then when I fix up my top face, here's my piece, I move it back, and now I do the same as I did before. This is the solution, or this is the solution, and that is because the orange piece is not at the bottom. Okay? So, in this case, this is the solution, so we need to get rid of these two pieces. So we move them away, we move our piece into the solve position, and then we move it back. Okay, so that's layer one. Okay, so here we are again with our tricky scenario. Our corner piece that we want to move up to here has the face that we're solving, the orange face, at the bottom. So we basically have to do a turn, and we're going to do that by using one of these faces. So move it away from the face that you want to do the turn with. Move the face down to meet it, so that now we have all this play area. We move it back to the position. If we solve it here, it's not going to be solved, but it has rotated. So just go one further. Then we do that same move, which is doing exactly the same rotation, and now we're sorted. We've got our piece in the same position it was, but our orange, our solving face, is not at the bottom, which means, as before, this move or this move is going to solve it. In this case, it's this move. That solved it. So, let's get our faces out of the way, move it into a solved position, and get our face back to where it came from. Okay, so we've solved our first layer, and we're going to move on to our second layer. Flip your cube upside down so that your solved layer is on the bottom, and we're looking for these 4 pieces. Now, the good thing about this layer is it's the same move no matter what rotation or no matter how these 4 pieces are positioned on the cube. If one of the pieces, and this is the worst case scenario, is in the right position but is in the wrong orientation, you just need to do this same move to move another piece into its position so that gets it out. And then once it's out, you do the same move to get it in position. Now the moves that we're going to do to solve this second layer make sense. And what I mean by that is that when we get to our last cross and our third layer, it starts to get really tricky to understand how all the pieces are moving, and you basically have to just trust that the moves that you're doing will make it work. When it comes to this second layer, you can still see what the pieces are doing and how they're moving around and how it's affecting everything around it. And it's not magical, basically. Okay, so when solving this second layer, the best thing to do is to try and find pieces that you can solve on the top, because they will always be the easiest ones to move into position. And what I mean by that is don't sit there and go, okay, I want to solve white-blue. Then you find white-blue over here, and you say, okay, well, I've got to move it out and then to move it back in. What you want to do is you want to first solve the easily solvable ones, which is pieces that are on the top here, and then you want to move to the harder solves. Because in this instance, if I was to do blue, yellow and move it into here, it would mean that this piece would have to move out, and then it would be on one of these top positions, and then I could solve here. So don't aim for, oh, I need to solve white blue now. Just solve pieces that are on the top place here. So in this case, we've got a blue yellow that we can solve, and the rest all have red in them, so that's the only piece that we can solve at this point in time. So we're going to go ahead and solve the blue yellow piece. Okay, so let's solve our blue and yellow piece here. What we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on this piece first, because this corner piece has to come out and be aligned correctly with this piece in order for the solve to happen. This is the move that's going to happen, so we need this piece to be rotated up to here. So this is the piece we're thinking about at the bottom at the moment, because it's the important one. In order to do that, we're going to move our top face away, so we're moving this piece away. We're bringing our corner piece up, and then we're moving our piece back, which takes the corner piece over to here. Then, if we straighten up our corner piece face, we've now got our 2 pieces aligned. Then all we have to do is move them away from the face that's going to solve them. So this face is the face that's going to solve them, the blue face. So we move them away from the blue face. We move the blue face up to receive them. We move them back to the blue face, and then the blue face finally solves it beautifully. And then we've got it done here. So we'll move on to the next one and do exactly the same process. Every time we do this, we're doing exactly the same thing to solve it. So let's do this piece here. So we're going to spin it around until we find our white and blue face. We move it away. We move our corner piece face up to get the corner away. Then we move our corner piece face down so that it's back to solved. when this face is back to solved, we've now got these two pieces in the right alignment. We now need to move them so that this piece can be rotated up. So we move them away, we move this piece, we move them back into position, and then we can solve. So here's our position where we've got two pieces that are swaps, and all the pieces on the top have a colour of the top face, which means basically these pieces have to be moved out before we can solve them. But we only have to move one out, because if we move this out and then solve it, then this piece will be moved out anyway. So we're just going to pick this piece, and we're just going to do exactly the same move that we did, but we're just going to pretend that this is the right piece that we want to move into here, which will move the piece out. So this piece is going into here, and we're doing exactly the same move. So away from our corner face up, back, corner face into the position we want, away, side face up, back, and solve. That solves our bottom. We've moved the piece that we wanted down into here, which means somewhere up here, right here, is the piece that we wanted. So now we move it into position. In this case it's here, so we're going to be wanting to move it down into here. Now it's exactly the same that we did before, but opposite. So here's our corner piece that we're getting out, and here's our side piece. So move our side piece away, move our corner piece up, move our side piece back, move our corner piece down to meet. We've now solved our bottom again, and we've got our two pieces where we want them. So the last move is to get these two pieces down to here. In order to do that, we move them away from the solving face. We move the solving face up to meet them. We move them into position, and then the solving face back to where it came from. Our bottom is solved, that piece is solved, that piece is solved, and we're looking pretty, and we've got one more to do. Let's do it. Okay, so we've got one more piece to go, and we move it into position above the white. And again, we're looking at this corner piece. So we're moving it away so that we can pull the corner piece out. Pull the corner piece out, and then we're moving it back. And then we're fixing this. So we fixed this bottom face, and we happen to have our two pieces in the right position. So this is now our solving face. So we move them away from our solving face up to meet them, them into position, our solving face back down beautifully. It's the same move. No matter what you want to do to solve this second layer, it's always the same move. So what I recommend you do when practicing solving this second layer is just constantly moving pieces, whether it's solving it or not, moving pieces into this position. Let's solve this one, and then I'll unsolve it. So here we have this piece that we want to move in here. Same process. Move it away, move our corner piece up. Undo that last move we did, and then undo the move to move the corner piece away. Now we've got our solved piece, and we've got our solved duo up here. We move them away from the solving face, we move the solving face up to meet them, we move them back into position, and then we're done. So now let's say I want to practice this a bit more. So I'm going to move the red and the white. So I want the white to be on this side, and I want the red to be on the green side. I'm just going to practice this move. That's all I'm doing. So same thing again. Move our piece away, move our corner piece up to meet it, move our piece back, and our corner piece down to meet it. This is our solving face. So the face, the two pieces that we want to move in, move away. Our solving face comes up to meet them. They move into the correct position, and then our solving face is completed. So I just moved the red and the white there. Now we can do it again. Here we go. We've got the white and green position, the white and green piece to move in. So let's do it again. We move away, we move up, we move back, we move back. Bottom is solved. Two pieces that we want to move into here. Our face that we want to move them in with is here, so we move them away from that. We move our faces up to meet it. We combine the two, and then we solve it. I really recommend that what you do is you practice that move over and over again, and you can do it very easily at that stage. So you can just sit here with this solved up to this point and be like, okay, I just want to practice this second layer move. And then we do it again. So we're just practicing that second layer move over and over again to get it working right. Okay, next stage is our cross at the top. Now, we're just going to get the pieces into the right positions, and then we're going to move them, well, the pieces into the right positions with the cross visible, and then we're going to rotate them if they need to be rotated. So what I mean by that is currently these two are in the right position, but if they were swapped and we had yellow, 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 we would have to swap those two positions, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is make this cross. All the possible scenarios that can come up for you, you can have only the yellow piece showing, you can have all the yellow pieces showing, you can have these two, or these two, or these two, or these two. You can have the L shape, or you can have the line. It's exactly the same move to get it happening. So here, as I said, we're going to just start doing the magic. And that is to rotate the front face towards you clockwise, the right face up, then we're going to move the top face clockwise and the right face down. Then we're going to fix the top face, so we're going to move it back, and then we're going to fix it up from where it was, back. So we just basically did 3 moves forward, 3 moves back, and we changed it from having 2 bits here to 1 line straight. Now if we do that exact same move again, it should give us the cross. Clockwise, 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 anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise. And now we have no problems down here, and we've got our cross. And in this case, we have the scenario that I was talking about, where we've got 2 pieces that are correct, but the other 2 are not. If you do those same moves again, let's do it one more time. Clockwise, 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 anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise. You go back 1, and then you do it again, or you go back 2 steps. You do it again, and it'll go to this line. So clockwise, 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 anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise. We get the line. Clockwise, 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 anti-clockwise, 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 anti-clockwise. I'm saying it and it's sounding weird to me. So no matter where you start with, whether it's just this one, whether it's the line across, or whether it's an L shape, you keep doing the same move and you will eventually get to this cross. Okay, so when we've got our cross here, we need to find out if they're not correct. So we've got 2 out of position. 2 of them will always be correct. So in this situation, we just spin this around and go, well, those 2, you should kind of remember which faces are opposite each other, but I don't. I just move it around until I go, oh look, they're correct. Let's find the 2 correct ones. So the correct ones are orange and green. So we're going to hold it with green, with the correct one at the top, and the correct one to our right. So we're rotating this face, and we're rotating this face. So, up, clockwise, down, clockwise, up, clockwise, clockwise, down. So you're always doing this move, up, down, or clockwise, anti-clockwise, and you're rotating this one in the same direction. Let's do it again. So in this case it's correct, so I'm going to get it out of correctness. So I'm going to go up, clockwise, down, clockwise, up, clockwise, clockwise, down. So now we've moved it out of the correct position. Which one's correct now? Let's have a look. Should be... Why can't I find it? There we go. Red and green are correct. So red on this side, these two are incorrect. And green to the top. So we're going up, clockwise, down, clockwise, up, clockwise, clockwise, down. And then you can do one more final turn to get it into the right position. Beautiful. Alright, so here's our final 4 pieces. Basically, we're looking for positions now, not for rotation. So the easiest way to tell if there's going to be one in the correct position, if there's no orange or there's no faces with orange up here on this orange side, then you know that the 2 oranges are here and that there can't be one in a correct position. In this case, I know that there's going to be one in the correct position because I can see an orange on this orange side. I don't know which one it is yet, but I'm going to spin around and I'm going to see it was this one all along. But basically, you will go and you will try and find the one that is correct. This is our one that we don't want to move, so we're only wanting to move these 3. We're moving it out of the way, or that's how I feel about it. Then we're going up, then we're moving it back, and then we're going up on the other side. Then we're moving it back, and we're going down. Then we're moving it back, and we're going down. Now, that should have moved this one that was over here to here, this one that was over here to here, and this one was over here to here. That might not have fixed it because, as you can see, we've still got the wrong situation. So we've got to do it one more time. But we know this is our correct position, so we can just very quickly look at it and go, okay, do it again. Let's do it one more time and everything should slide perfectly into position. Moving this one to the side, moving the right one up. Moving it back, moving the left one up. Moving it back, right one down, moving it back, left one down. And now we've got all pieces in the right position, but the wrong orientation. Now, is everything in the wrong position? I think so, yeah. Okay, so the reason why you can tell that is because the red is here and the red is here and this is the red face. So they all have to be in the wrong position. So this is the longest possible, this is the worst case scenario, right? But if I do that, you notice how I've just been moving these 3 around? If I do this once, when they're all in the wrong position, one of them has to get into the right position. So I don't care which one I pick, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to pick this one. I'm going to go do our same move. Up, back, down, back, down. Now one of them has to be in the right position. Straight there, right position. The other 3 will be wrong. Do the same move again. To the left, up. To the right, up. To the left, down. To the right, down. And all of them are now in the correct position. If they weren't in the correct position that time, I would have just done it one more time and we would have got them in the correct position. Bam! There you go. So now we have our layer, our pieces all in the exact correct position. And now we just need to rotate them. And that's the next step. And this is where it starts to get a bit silly. Okay, so our final step is to rotate these 4 pieces as needed. Now, no matter how many need rotating, in this case it's 2, but it could be 4 or 3, no matter how many need rotating, there's only 3 or 6 rotations that have to happen. Now this one needs to be rotated once this way, and if I go the same direction, this one has to be rotated twice, which is your 3 possibility. But no matter how many bits need rotating and what position they're in, it's only going to be a combination of 3 or 6 rotations to get them into the right position. Now the move that we're going to do is going to rotate a piece 3 times. If we need to rotate all the pieces 6 times, or altogether 6 times, we're just going to do that move twice. Okay, so basically we're concentrating on this piece closest to you, and this is the piece we're going to be rotating. To do that, we're going to move the right side face and the bottom face. We're going to be doing two lots of the same 4 moves is 1 rotation, then 2 lots of the same 4 moves is the second rotation, 2 lots of the same move is the third rotation. Okay, so that move, and watch this piece because it's going to, after the 2 lots of the 4 same moves, it will move up to here. So we're doing 8 movements here, which is 1 to move the right down, 2 to move the bottom to the left, 3 to move the right up, 4 to move the bottom to the right. Same again. Right down, bottom left, right up, bottom back to the right. Now you'll notice that that's rotated this piece, and it has moved the piece once. If we were to do that same thing 2 more times, so the same thing we just did 2 more times, it would rotate it back to its position and it would solve the bottom of the cube. So, right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right, right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right. Okay, so now we've rotated it 1 more time. Same again, right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right, right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right. Now we're in exactly the same position we were when we started this. So we've just done those, how many moves? 8 plus 8 plus 8. So we've done 24 moves and we've got back into exactly the same position. Now this piece only has to move once, and this piece over here has to move twice. So if we do that move once here, we'll get it right, then we spin the top round, we do it twice, and then we'll get this right, and then it should be 2 more moves to get it back into the right location. So let's do that. This one we're turning once. Right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right, right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right. That's once. Now we rotate our top face, right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right, right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right. It's rotated once. 1 more time. Right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right, right down, bottom left, right up, bottom right. And you can see 2 rotations of the top, and we have a completely solved Rubik's Cube. Okay, so here's the other possible scenario. There are quite a few, but it's all basically the same combination. There are 4 pieces on the top that need to be rotated, or your 4 corner pieces need to be rotated. But if we count all the rotations that need to happen, it's always going to be a combination of 6 or 3. This one is once, twice. This one is once. This one is once, and this one is once, twice. So this means we're going to have to do the move 6 times. Now, I'm just going to do it quickly because you already know the combination. And I'm going to hold the cube like this, and you can watch this piece move. And I'm actually going to use my fingers underneath here, my pinkies, well not my pinkies, but this finger, to rotate the cube faster. Don't try to do this straight away, but I've just got to do so many moves that it's heaps faster to do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Yeah, same move. That piece rotated. This one I'm going to have to do twice. Now we're solved because we did the 3 moves, or the 3 lots of 8 moves. So we'll spin again. this one will have to be spun twice. Once. And there we go. This is a move that you can practice a fair bit to try and get faster, but you will sort of get in a rhythm of it quite easily. But I'll just go through it again and I'll show you what I'm doing with my fingers in order to make it a lot faster. So I'm holding the cube like this and I'm holding the cube like this. So that's there and there. And I'm going the right move, I'm spinning the bottom one, I'm moving the right back up, and I'm taking this finger off down here and I'm spinning the bottom left. Then I do the same thing, and that's one rotation. Do it again. Two rotations. Three rotations. So now our cube is just 6 rotations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rotations away from being solved. So we'll do it again. Same again. Once. And we're solved. Alright, there we go. Job done. We're finished. We know now how to solve a Rubik's Cube. But there's still a question lurking, which is why? Why are we bothering to do this? Why is it a school project? And why do I think that it's a really, really, really good school project? Well, I know that's 3 questions, but the answer is you're learning how to problem solve. And although solving a Rubik's Cube won't save someone's life or make you a friend, it is a really good exercise to teach you how to solve problems. I've done many different programming pieces of software, and I use this type of problem solving all the time. The first thing we did is we broke the problem down into its parts, into its physical parts in this case, but in lots of other problems that you will solve, it will be the way that something works. So we pulled apart a Rubik's Cube and had a look at how it worked. Then we went through and we decided what steps we would take on a broad level to solve it. So we said we'd do the first cross, then the first layer, then the second layer, the second cross, and then the third layer. And then we went through and solved all those individual stages, all those individual steps, and we went down into the nitty-gritty of what actually we needed to do to solve those steps. And then we put it all together, and what we ended up with was a solved problem. That's what you'll do. You'll do it many times in your life. You will come across a problem, you'll have to break down how it works, you'll have to decide what steps to take to fix it, and then you'll have to do those steps in order to fix it. And it's a very, very good school project. And I think it's excellent, and I wish I did it in school. Well, there you go, Grace. Rant about problem solving aside, I hope you had a lot of fun watching this video. I hope you have even more fun solving the Rubik's Cube, getting that sense of satisfaction about doing it yourself, and I hope that you can challenge me one day in a speed contest, and I hope that you win and challenge me to go even faster and learn different ways of solving the Rubik's Cube. I hope that one day you can look at a Rubik's Cube and go, ooh, look at this, I can put it behind my back and solve it with one hand. Of course, nobody can actually do that, but thanks for watching. Everybody else, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe and dislike or whatever you want to do. This has been Minion's Workshop, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.